As a beginner home sewist, I know for a fact that you have a pile of shame somewhere in your house. That pile of shame is a graveyard of unfinished projects. I also know that a good sewing pattern can be the difference between getting really frustrated and not finishing and adding to your pile of shame, and actually finishing something, wearing it out in the wild, and someone being like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. And then you're like, thanks, I made it. Okay, nothing feels better than saying that. Today we're talking about the first step in making garments at home, which is selecting sewing patterns. A sewing pattern is two things. Number one, it's a template for cutting out fabric pieces, and two, it's a set of instructions for putting those fabric pieces together. I have found that the more experience I get, the less instruction I need. For example, I just sewed my 6th chino pant from Wardrobe by Me, and the only time I referenced the instructions were when I was doing the zipper fly. Skills I'm learning are going to transfer to other pants patterns and also anything that I self-draft. Sidebar on pattern drafting, because I know you bitches are going to bring it up. Pattern drafting in my mind is its own craft, and it all leans more into the world of like fashion design. And because I'm not really into like duping ready-made clothes, and I also don't feel like designing a garment is really in my current skill set. Like, it's also just not something that I'm super interested in at this moment, though I would like to release a pants pattern because I have lots of thoughts on pants and how they should fit. One day I'll do a video on pants. The truth is that I just don't have time to learn pattern drafting the way that I want to at this moment in time. You know, I have a full-time job. I have a house to take care of. I have children, my cats. And my main focus is just learning how to sew really well. It's hard, but not impossible to do fit adjustments without knowing pattern drafting 100%. You kind of learn a little bit of pattern drafting when you do fit adjustments. So it's kind of like a nice little, kind of slipping into pattern drafting a little bit. That's at least the way that I think about it. Let me know down in the comments if you have if you think that pattern drafting should come first before fit or, whatever. In the meantime, there are some really awesome designers, really great patterns that are being released every day. I've been keeping track of them in a Notion database. Let's get into the criteria. How I determine if a pattern is good. And this is once I have the pattern in my hand. We'll get into how to determine if a pattern is good from the pattern listing, but I want to start with what makes a pattern good when you have it in your hand. Number one is the quality of the pattern pieces as they are drawn. What does that mean? It means, does the shape of the pattern pieces in the 2D form, when sewn, match the 3D thing that it's supposed to be creating? Also, are the seams properly trued? If two seam, like the seam, are they the correct length? Like those type of things. And I know that sounds really silly to say, but there's a lot of BS being pumped out of Etsy right now. Beware AI, pattern farms. I just made up that phrase. I don't know if that's a real thing. There's a lot of patterns that don't do this, and you could fall for it. Next would be the professional pattern markings, which are tremendously helpful during construction. Who would have thought pattern markings are useful? I just started transferring the pattern markings. It's so embarrassing, and it is what I like to call deranged beginner behavior. But I was not transferring the pattern markings, which is funny. My sewing greatly improved once I started doing that. And also, a bad pattern won't have a lot. You'll be able to tell when it doesn't have the right pattern markings. Number two is size charts and finished garment charts, which you can usually see on the pattern listing. What I'm really talking about here is like the accuracy of those things and the range of those things. With the size chart, I want to see that they have a good amount of sizes and sizes that like make sense. I want to see that they have a size range that's pretty comprehensive, which again sounds silly to kind of say out loud, but a lot of times like those kind of not so good patterns that you'll find on Etsy, the pattern grading like will not make sense, where it's like 5 sizes and none of the large sizes are actually larges. I hate to see it. The finished garment sizes, I love to see a finished garment size chart. I feel like you can really get a good amount of control whenever you have one of those charts. You can use the size chart as like a jumping off point, but the finished garment size, if it's accurate, is really going to tell you how much ease you're going to have in certain like parts of your garment. And I've found myself really gravitating towards that chart when I'm trying to be super specific about the amount of ease or the looseness that I want in a garment after it's sewn and being worn. The third thing is going to be the quality of instruction, which is subjective. I'm just going to say that now. It's subjective. I think that it's really useful for beginners to have that like really clear instruction included with what now is becoming a $15 or a $20 pattern. I'm expecting a little more if my pattern is $20, okay? Quality of the instruction to me signals professionalism and knowledge from the designer. Now, this is all great if you have the pattern in your hands, like I said, but most of the time you're shopping online and you don't have the pattern in your hands. All you have is the pattern listing. The real question is, how do you basically guess if a pattern is gonna be good? I know it can be a lot to figure out which pattern makers are worth your money. That's why I actually put together a free Notion wiki. It's a catalog of sewing patterns that I've bought or are going to buy soon and reputable pattern makers. You can access it through the link in the description. If you've found a great pattern or pattern maker who's not in the directory or in the catalog, I would love if you would submit them. There's a submission form for you to submit recommendations for people. Because you can't see the pattern materials before you buy it, there are a few data points I use to know if you've got a good pattern on your hands. Number one is the existence of pattern testers. Now, not every pattern maker is going to have the resources or audience to have pattern testers. That's just a fact. Pattern testing is basically, if you don't know what it is, it's basically a pattern designer or maker gets a group of people to sew it and provide feedback. And usually you'll see the pattern testers in the photos in the like product listing for the pattern. If that person doesn't have access to pattern testers, I think what the second thing that I look for is a variety of body types and fabrics being used in the photographs for the listing. I like to see that this pattern has been used multiple times because that signals to me that this is versatile. This is going to work for multiple body types. Number two is instructions. Basically, instructions come in two basic flavors. They come in video form and written or illustration form. For video, usually pattern companies will have their instruction videos publicly available. Not always, but sometimes. And I feel like that's one of the best ways to tell is you can just go to the publicly available video. Sometimes you find patterns by seeing a video on YouTube of some of the instructions, and you can see for yourself if it's enough instruction for you. Now, for illustration and written, sometimes there's going to be a little bit of a preview. Sometimes people really phone in the illustrations. That's kind of me expecting the worst. If I'm not expecting the worst, people just aren't very good at drawing sewing instructions. It's hard, I can imagine, because I've seen some pretty bad ones. I think actually having like a good reference material to go to is also good. I love a good video and written. Like I love it when both are happening at the same time, but sometimes you don't get that because I'll usually watch the video a few times. It's kind of nice to just have someone like, face to face tell you what you're supposed to be doing. And then whenever I'm sewing, I reference the written instructions. Number three is options for printing. I love to see that there's a copy shop file in addition to printing at home on a regular printer because I hate printing patterns at home on a regular printer, though it's usually what I do. I did spend a little bit of money, like a little, ordering patterns that I had bought from PDF Plotting. They're amazing. It's pretty cheap to get your patterns printed there and they ship them to your door. I wasn't able to find any copy shops in my area, but I was able to find this online resource. Some people also look for projector files. I don't have a projector. It's probably the most sustainable way to deal with PDF patterns. And usually if they have a copy shop file, they also have a projector file. And then also the way the pieces are taped together. This is like a quality of life thing. And it's also personal preference. I have a preference for the way like the letter size sheets of paper are taped together. And as you buy more PDF patterns, you will also have an opinion. But again, they may not tell you that beforehand, but if you buy something from a pattern maker, they usually do that for their entire line of patterns. They do the same thing for their entire line of patterns. Number four is marketplace. You find the pattern on Etsy, which I feel like is normally where I find patterns. I either Google and get sent straight to Etsy, or I go to Etsy and I look for patterns. I like to see that they have a personal website where they also sell their patterns. This is not always a clear indicator that they have great patterns, but I do think it's a good sign. It's also not a requirement. I just like to see it because I like to give them my money directly instead of through Etsy, because I know there are probably some Etsy haters in the comments. Sound off. I just think it's a nice touch to be able to go directly to their website, read about them, and really, get into who this, get directly into who the pattern maker is. And number 5, it's pretty self-explanatory, and the most useful thing you're going to have at your disposal for buying patterns is the reviews. If it's good, people will give good reviews and they will leave pictures, which I find really useful to see how, just regular people picking up this pattern, how it works for them. And if it's bad, people will say. People will leave bad reviews. If you want a shortcut to find high quality, well-designed modern patterns, don't forget to check out the Studio Notebook in the link in the description. I would love for this to be a community-driven resource. So if you've got a pattern maker or a go-to pattern, definitely submit it, and I will do my best to review the submissions and add them to the directory or catalog. Well, if you made it this far, you should consider subscribing. You are among the elite few. And when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to give a cute little studio tour.
Say bye, Tony. Say bye. Tony, say bye.